Hi, this is Rachel Nasatka from Radical Alchemy, here to read my latest essay. What am I allowed to do when my body won't cooperate, but my ambitions don't stop? If you have the fortune or misfortune of seeing my notes regularly in your Substack algorithm, you might have read that I've had intense back pain for the last week or so. Or you might not have noticed because who cares, right? Well, I care. I am sitting here in pain. I cannot think, I cannot write, I cannot even read. I simply cannot. What is one to do in a situation like this where I have arbitrarily promised Substack that I will publish an article once a week? What about the women's cohort that I am working so hard on with a partner to establish and launch in March? Spoiler, it's going to be awesome though. What about my nightly poetry? Well, I'll tell you what one is to do. One is to just start writing about what is on one's mind, pain, blaring pain signals, and see where one ends up. Or, more importantly, see where one can take strangers on the internet, a la obnoxious and recurring descriptions of pain. Hi, here comes the part where my pain serves as a metaphor for my corporate HR days of yore. Later will come the part where I try to sound all wise and impart a message of learning to my readers who make it to the end of this article in a way that makes my pain relevant to you living your best life. We'll get there, I promise. Will you stay with me? Because pain and work are a funny pair, meaning one generally overpowers the other. And how we respond to these overpowering sensations says a lot about our ability to be successful in business. The rules are just slightly different if you are self-employed versus working a corporate job, because what else is new? Once, when I was working in corporate HR, I had a weird week. Okay, obviously more than once, but I'm going to discuss one particular week with you here, okay? Go easy on me. I'm in pain, remember? I had been working with one employee who had stopped showing up for their job as a manager, overseeing a somewhat large team. They had received constructive feedback from their supervisor over a rather serious issue, and the next day didn't show up. In the days to follow, we received a doctor's note indicating that this employee was not fit for work and would need to take a medical leave. This happens, and this is valid. Mental health, as I tell my children, is as real and as serious as physical health. We don't play here. In this situation, however, the timing of this individual's mental health crisis was convenient. Suddenly, their massive error, which earned them a mere warning, was irrelevant. They were on leave, and we knew they wouldn't come back. That same week, I had an informal meeting with another, more senior team member who I worked with closely and still consider a friend. This person confided in me that they had been hit by a car the Friday before, but hadn't told anyone. Um, what? There's a lot to unpack here. At the time, my poor HR brain said to itself, well, I guess it just goes to show the difference between a manager and a VP. Again, um, what? Yes, the first employee was, as I felt at the time, problematic. We need to be able to take constructive feedback without melting down and losing our ability to do the baseline requirements of our jobs. Have we really bred a culture of employees who feel they can just tap out if they don't like what they hear? On the other side of that coin, we also really bred a culture of employees where a senior leader does not feel safe sharing that they were hit by a car? In reality, both situations are distortions from the same broken system, one where no one seems to feel they can afford any sort of constructive criticism or sign of weakness. I don't have an answer to this specific situation, and it's not as if you've asked me a question. But as I recline at a 45-degree angle, I can't help but ponder this experience within the context of my own physical, not to mention mental and emotional challenges. Because I had a similar back injury about 9 months ago. The key difference was that I had a full-time remote job at that point. I had backup, I had a team. I still worked, but I took my meetings video off, let my boss know I had to leave early one day to get a 90-minute massage. Spoiler, it made things worse. And I didn't have to worry about getting paid while I was laid up. I treated my injury the way I advised both employees referenced above, though they both opted for different directions. Now, however, I have a business. As I said in my article last week, my success or failure is dependent completely on me. My success or failure doesn't care that I have to use my hands to lift my left leg when I get in the car, or that my Oura ring has let me know that my body is under extreme stress. Does any of this matter? To my anxiety, yes. To my reality, also yes. But perhaps not in the way that you are thinking. All of us, every single one of us who has the ability to sign into Substack is a human being. We make micro decisions every single day about how we spend our time, knowing the impacts these choices have on our futures, our relationships, and our present moments. And all of us deserve balance. Whether a VP at a large company, a manager at that same company, or a dreamer trying to make it on her own. Because in corporate life, pain seems to be either hidden or leveraged, either way for self-protection. In self-employment, I am choosing to use my pain as data, to galvanize it into learning instead of letting it sink my ambitions and goals. So, I hope you will remember the advice of a stranger on the internet the next time you feel you are similarly laid up. I will rest. I will maintain my obligations or manage expectations where I can't. I will lean on the team I've informally built around me who are encouraging me on my path. I will turn my experience into something meaningful, into radical alchemy. You deserve this too. Please take care of yourself and give grace to those around you. The work, the growth, the progress, it happens through the chaos, the pain, the uncomfortable conversations. And make sure you look both ways before you cross the street.